Hi, and welcome to the Shack. My name is Barbara Gray from Clarity here in the UK. I've been talking to myself for a couple of minutes because the sound wasn't switched on. My bad, I should have checked. Come on in. It's Monday morning, and I think that you'll find that the sound is better now. Thanks very much. Okay, so that threw me, but it's okay. That's the whole idea, is that we reset our headsets, our mindsets, and Paul's just popped in and we're back on track. Okay, so not a great start, but that's okay. Moving on. It's never the event, but how you respond to it that will ultimately affect you. Remember? So let's let our friends find us. I think that the what I was saying was the sunshine is going to be driving people out into the gardens, and I don't blame them at all. So that's okay though. The important people are here, and you got a cup of coffee, you got a pencil, and you got a piece of paper, and we're going to carry on with our alphabet, and at the moment we're parked at W, and we're just sketching lovely little things. So we started with a way marker, and then we did a wonky tree, and now we're going to do a white picket fence and the shack itself. Yeah. So come on in. Not nice weather here in Antrim. Sorry to hear that. Nice to have your company, friends. Okay. So how are you, and how was your weekend? Everybody happy? Yesterday I was busy working on this afternoon's TV show, which was really enjoyable. So this afternoon at 2:00, we're launching you got to get these. They're the little, remember the little shack people that we drew here in the shack? Well, we made them large. We've gone large on them. And it was Gilly's idea. And at first I thought, I wonder why we need those. But once you've got them, honestly, they are so cool. You really see the personalities in them. So there are 3 sets of those. And then I mentioned it in the shack last week. Sam Crow had a brilliant idea with some framers. So we've made these really funky framers. And so this weekend, they were so fresh out of the oven, the framers, that of course the design team didn't receive them in time. So I was doing some demos just to show you how they work. Really, really, really cool. So let's have a look. Yeah, good. Well, I'm glad to see that we've got lots of friends here joining us. Yeah, so this afternoon at 2:00, I think, well, I'm sure that most people will be in the garden, and I completely appreciate it. But we will be here at 2:00, and we will be showing you these brand new beautiful stamps. Right, so let's have a look. What are we doing today? Well, we've got a good number of people. When it hits 100, I'll get started. How does that sound? Yeah, good. And it just hit 102. Okay, right. So what we're going to do is we're going to pursue our little 3.5 by 3.5 inch pictures. It's quite bright, this camera, isn't it? Difficult to see on the whiteness. Let's have a look what we've got here. Let me see if that helps. Okay, so you can see we did the way marker with the weeds. Whoa. Then we did a tree. Do you remember? We did the tree. And now we're going to go for the white picket fence and the shack in the background. So we're going to do the fence, and then we'll do the shack with the weather vane and maybe some windows and some wisteria, etc., etc., etc. And so this was where we were. There's my one. I've got my spare up there. And then there's my tree that we already did together. And the way marker, this is interesting. Yesterday when I was getting ready for today, because I'm the bus driver, I have to I have to know where we're headed, really, And so I was thinking, because we're just taking a pencil and we're taking our little 3.5 by 3.5. So I thought, that's great, because you can make a little book, with all the different things, the washing line, and, it goes on and on, the W. We don't realize how important the letter W is until you start focusing on it. And it really does come up a lot. So we're using these little 3.5 by 3.5 inch cards. We're not bothering with the tracing paper. So yesterday I was thinking, the idea was that we're sketching it straight onto these little pieces in pencil. But the plan was always to then take a micron pen and go over it with a micron pen in the same sketchy way, you see, and then rub out the pencil art in the background. So I just thought, well, I better try it. So I did. I tried it on the one we did together, and it looks so nice, friends. It looks so nice. So I'm glad of that. I thought I must check to make sure that it's going to work, my plan here. And we've done the tree, we've done that, we've got that. So my idea now is to take the tree and roll it through into, that's it. We'll start with the picket fence and we'll start moving into the house, the housing area. How does that sound? Yeah? Good. It's great getting together on a Monday morning. I really do enjoy it, regardless of what's going on. It's a great place to just sit and have a coffee and get making something. It kind of adjusts your thinking. It right sizes everything in your head, regardless of what's going on in your world or in the world at the moment. Just park all that stuff outside your door just for an hour, have a coffee, leave it all there. Don't worry, it's doing press ups in the car park. It'll be there when we open the door again. Okay, but just for now, let's just leave it there and let's just enjoy our doodling. So what do we need? Well, we need a couple of pencils. HB pencil. Don't be saying, oh, I haven't got one of those, so I can't do it. I'm using a 2H, HB. Use what you've got in the cupboard, right? And if you haven't got the little pieces, doesn't matter. It's not a thing, right? You can just use a piece of copy paper. We said this right at the beginning and nothing's changed. All you need to join in is a pencil and a piece of paper, okay? I was going to show you something else as well, which I really enjoyed. Again, the bus driver. I was working on it yesterday because yesterday I was working on pottery at the same time. But once the kiln's going, but I thought, no, I must know where we're going today. Where we. You see, W's. It's sprinkled through the English language. And I thought, I got to the way marker. This is how my mind works, right? I got to the way marker and I thought, well, really, I want to put a little bird on there. So what bird begins with W? A wren, right? So I thought, right, better draw a wren then. Even if it's a tiny wren, it would be nice to learn how to draw a wren. And because I've been doing the raku pottery birds, I've been making wrens and robins, okay? And isn't it funny? I mean, talk about the English language being complicated. The fact that a wren is spelt with a W. What chance have our foreign friends got when they're learning this language, eh? But the robin starts with an R. And they both start with the same sound. Robin and a wren. Now, where's the wren? Where's the W there, eh? Funny old language. I love it, though. I really love it. So let me show you, because we're going to do this as well. Because I thought, the wren and the robin are very, I won't say they're similar, but they are like they're small. They're in my garden. They're in our garden. But to be fair, you would never see the wren sitting on a way marker. The robin, you would. The wren's it hides more, doesn't it? You don't really see the wren sitting out in the open. Not ours anyway. Maybe it's more intelligent and it knows that Ragnar and Eric might find it, right? So the wren is a little bit more difficult to spot, but the robin sits everywhere. You know, it sits on the chair watching me, you know. It's lovely. So domesticated, really, aren't they? So I thought, right, well, let's have a look at the wren. So I tried to kind of break it down, and I thought the best way is to make a big smile, like a great big grin. And then I thought, if I go 4 times, look, doesn't that look like a wren? You gotta say, right? And then I thought, well, if you put a little area around there, you can make it into a robin, but it doesn't have the same shape as a robin. The wren has that kind of really tall, cheeky tail that goes up. Then I tried to make it smaller, just in case I wanted to sit it somewhere in our picture. The robin, on the other hand, you see, it's also got a big smile, but it's more front-loaded. Do you see? The robin has got a different shape. When it comes out, look at the difference between the robin and the wren, and you can see that, can't you? But when you look at the shape that it starts with, one's bottom, it kind of runs like that, it's more symmetrical. With the robin, I mean, it's a bit exaggerated, but what I did with the robin was I put the smile on an angle, and it just makes it really easy to draw. So I thought maybe we could have a go at that. It just for fun, you know, just for fun, on a bit of scrap. Just try and see the difference between a wren and a robin. Because I've been doing it in clay, hand building them, and I definitely can tell the difference between a wren and a robin. Robin's more difficult for me. I find the robin more difficult than the wren. And the owls are a piece of cake. Not. They're not. So let's get started. Are you ready? Quite warm in here. It's very warm in here. And we've got a lot going on here at Clarity this week. We're always busy, really. But we aren't a big team like we used to be, you see. So you only need 1 or 2 people out of the building, and it really impacts the rest of the team, you know. But that's okay. We're glad that we're here. And of course, we've got the open days coming up. So there's a lot of prep around that at the moment. I'm a bit disappointed in the numbers, I'm going to say, because it's so much work. But there we are. You know, I think when we stopped being on mainstream TV on Create and Craft, I won't say we disappeared, because we didn't disappear. You're here, but we did lose that exposure, you know, and we've yet to find that again. But and I think that that's the main reason. I personally think that that's the reason that the open days aren't really as well as attended as they were. You know, I can't say they should be. It is what it is, and we will have a brilliant time, and the important people are there, you know, and of course we're going to have a great time. But the fixed costs are the fixed costs, and you know, it costs a lot of money to bring all the staff down from all over the country and put them up in hotels, and you know, but that's okay. It's okay. It is what it is. Right. So, but we've got to plan for it. Whether 10 turn up or 100 or 1,000, we have to plan for it, you know. And so that's starting now. We're building that momentum. It'll be okay. We will have a good time, you know. And there's still a couple of weeks. Some people still might come last minute. I think that things are changing, you know, like the online courses. People from all over the world are joining. Do you know, like this Wednesday, I've got the second of my online, you know, the landscapes and stamping course, the foundation course, the basic one. And we've got, I think, 8 people, another 8 people have signed up since the weekend, you know. Even though we already started last week, people are signing up. They're catching up. And I think that people are going online. That's my honest belief. I think more and more people. And of course, you know, those people can be anywhere in the world, you know. And because of the because of the internet. Look, here we are together, you know. It really does work. What about Facebook ads? Yeah, we could try. We've tried it. We do it. We will see. And I know you will be there, Ken. You know, most people that have that are part of the Clarity family, they know about the open days. You know, we've been talking about it a lot. So one thing at a time. Now let's have a look. Let's get started, and we'll go to the SHAC. We're going to go to. We've done the way marker. We've done the tree. But what I want to do is bring the picket fence into this one here. So I'll just pan out a little bit. I'm hoping it's not too light. No, it's okay now. Okay, sometimes the camera at the top takes a little time. So if I'm holding it together like so, then what I'm going to do is make sure that it tessellates, you see. So if the tree is there, then I can go anywhere I like, but let's go like that, look. And I'm going to, there you go. So that line's there. And then eventually I'll bring that one up, and that can tessellate with the SHAC. Let's have a look. Yeah, there you go. Just about. Bring that down there. So now we've got a running landscape. Marvelous. Yeah. So when we've got this, now I'm going to pop that one there so you can see what we're drawing while we're drawing. I used to love those. I don't remember if you remember when we were kids. They used to be, they were brilliant. Core. They were colouring books and drawing books. And on the one side was the finished drawing, and then there was a blank. And you didn't trace it. You looked and you drew it on the next page. Then you turned over and there was the next one. I used to chomp through those books. Do you remember them? And then you could go back and colour them all in. But there used to be a drawing, an illustration, and then there used to be a blank page. And then there was a drawing and a blank page, and a drawing and a blank page. You know what? Maybe that's what we should print downstairs. Wouldn't that be great? So we've got the drawing and then a blank page for you to practice on. Might not be a bad idea at all. Okay. Now let's have a look. We're gonna come across here, and we're going to put the picket fence in first. So I would say that the picket fence starts here, right? Let's just start it. We can go on, but we've got to start somewhere. So I would say that we get the height on the picket fence. So we're going to make a kind of a really fine line, yeah? And I think it's going to be a little bit smaller there. And then we're going to go and make it a little bit bigger at this end, like so. So it's definitely got a bit more perspective. It's a bit further away up there, yeah? And then we're going to make the picket fence. So let's come in a bit closer. Okay, there you go. And we'll just start on the picket fence. Forgive my fingernails. If you'd seen them at the weekend with the oxides, you would be shocked. Right. So what we're going to do is just, and don't worry if you run through the tree, we can always rub the tree out. In the picket fence is definitely in front, right? So what we're going to do is I'm going to turn it around like this because I draw better like this, right? So we're going to come along here, and we're going to make lines like that, and try not to make them too fat. So they go, a picket fence goes up, and then it's got a little like so. So what we'll do is we'll make the point hit the line that we've drawn. Yeah, that'll do. And every now and again you can maybe do a little wonky one, because it's a wonky white picket fence. Remember, for W, it's a wonky white picket fence. And we could also come down below a little bit, but let's just get the white picket fence in first. Right. And now as we come down, that's it, just take your time. Check what you're doing. Oh yeah, that looks good. See what I mean? So now we're coming down a bit further because we can always come down beyond here if we want it to be bigger as it comes along. Okay. White picket fence. It symbolises things, doesn't it? A white picket fence. What does a white picket fence symbolise for you? I remember years ago. See, a white picket fence, it's like dingly dell, all is well, life is good, doesn't it? Quaint, perfect life. It's a kind of a symbol, isn't it? It's symbolic of that. You've got a little cottage with a white picket fence. Do you know? Let's put them together a bit here. So if I put this one together, then we can get a bit of a, like so. Should we put a fence? Look, we forgot the gate. There's a gate there. All right, well, we can always knock a couple out. Let's do them all, and then we can take a couple out, can't we? We put the gate there. Move it over a bit. I think I would have put it there, though. Okay, I'm going to leave a gap. Miss one. We can always move it over. That looks a bit ropey. See, I find it easier to draw on the side. On the side. Let's have that too big. Like that. It's easier to draw it on the side. Honest it is. Right, scrap that. Scrap that. Scrap that. We're going to put a... That's it. Off we go. Right, one more on this side. And then I'm going to leave a gap. That's the gate. And then we go again. 1, 2, and put an arrow at the top. 1, 2, arrow. Have a check. Yeah, nice. Then this one, I might come up a little bit and make it a bit quirky. Needs a bit of fixing. I remember many years ago when I lived in California, I had a girlfriend who she lived in a beautiful place just outside Sacramento, in between San Francisco and Sacramento. She's a very clever woman. And she lived in a house with a white picket fence, and it was very important. I remember her talking about it, and it was that symbolic, what it stood for, you know. There, look, there we are. That looks good. It's a good start, and then we can make it smaller. See, as we go along here, if you wanted to, I like that bit of the. I might bring that one down there like that. I don't want to lose that bit of the... Can always come back and do that afterwards. See, make it smaller as it goes away. But, so my friend who had this white, beautiful house as well, it really... Right, I'll tell you what happened, okay? Right, how are you doing? Are you catching up with me? And then I'll tell you what happened. So I remember one day I went to see her because I hadn't heard from her for a while. Her husband was always on business. You know, he was always away on business traveling. So she was on her own a lot with a little baby. So I went to see her in her home with a white picket fence. And when I got there, I was quite shocked to see that her house looked like a bomb had hit it, you know. Really, and this is not a judgment. It was just an observation. The house looked like it had been burgled. You know, it was just mess everywhere, and there was nowhere to sit because the ironing was just all over. There was just washed clothes that were just piled up everywhere, and the kid was screaming, and the kitchen was absolutely awful. And if you live in California, unless you keep your kitchen really, really clean, you get ants. Ants is just par for the course. That's why I've got the world's biggest collection of Tupperware. I was a Tupperware queen. Everything went in a Tupperware box. Anything that was even remotely attractive to an ant, sugar, anything, any foodstuffs, ants would find their way in. And I remember this particular kitchen was just crawling with ants, and the sink was full, and the dishes. Oh, it was bad, right? And so I just, typical Barbara, I said, I'll tell you what, I'll give you a hand. Let's put the kettle on and let's get this lot sorted. So I spent about 6 hours cleaning the kitchen, getting rid of all the ants, mopping it down, and she was completely out of it, right? And what, right, I could do this while I'm talking. So what I want to do now is get a little bit of a shadow on here, right? So if we look at this, it's not 2-dimensional, it's 3-dimensional. So what I'm going to pretend is that we're looking at it from this angle, so we can see. Let's just do this, right? On the side, on the side of each. I know it's a little bit pedantic, but I like it. I like it, right? So it's going to go on that side, a little tiny. There you go. Just do a little line on that side, just because when you do that in pen, it will look so cool. All right. Just put another line down that side of that. God, I wish I had my Dame Edna's on. Right. So what we're doing here is we're just putting a little line down there, and you'll see it looks more dimensional now. You know? Yeah. So this is where I learn a lot of things, because she was very depressed. She had a young baby, and she was on medication, prescription drugs, okay, from the doctor, and it was to help her because she was depressed, right? She felt low after the baby, and I know and isolated, and so on and so on. And this is not a judgment, but it was an observation, and it stuck with me. Look, here I am 30 years later, 30 plus years later, and I remember it as if it was yesterday because of the white picket fence. This is what triggered this. Right, so now we've done that side, those little bits there. Okay. This medication that she was on completely blew her mind. Do you understand? She might as well have been drunk. She might as well have been stoned. She might as well have been. She was so out of it on this medication that she shouldn't have been alone with her baby. That's the truth of it. And as a friend, I was just trying to help. I haven't had a drink or a drug for many, 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 many years, right? And she didn't drink either. She did not drink alcohol. That was what we had in common. But she was on this medication. And the end result, she might as well have been on the vodka. Do you see? And it was like nothing surprised her, and she didn't care about anything. Right, so now I've got the picket fence to that degree. So what these would all fall over if they weren't connected. So now we need, and if Dave were here, he would tell me the name of the crossbars, right? He would tell me what the bar was going across. So let's just say it goes in there and it goes to that point there. So it goes in there and then it stops there, right? Because look, there's that edge there, like so. So it stops there. So it goes in there and it joins up there. So my friend, okay, she was out of her mind on medication. And it's very difficult to make sense of or help in that regard. It was very, very difficult as well to watch. And then we hooked up a couple of months later, and I remember You know, I cleaned her house. I did everything. I did the best I could. Just to clear the decks, just to, you know. And then a couple of months later, we met in a coffee shop. She obviously didn't want me to go back to the house. Didn't like the way I did the ironing. No, it wasn't that. It wasn't that at all. I was glad that she was getting out of the house, to be fair. Anyway, we were in this coffee shop. And she'd driven there with the baby. And I'd driven there with my two. I had two, Grace and Mark. Let me just check what we're doing here, because I need to lose a bit of this tree, because I've got a bit too much busyness going on here. We can always reintroduce the tree afterwards, can't we? So let me put my picket fence in there. Okay. Let's have a look. Yeah, that'll work. All right. So we met in this coffee shop. Isn't it funny how you remember these things? Well, I'm glad I can remember these things, to be fair. It's a good leveler. Doesn't this look nice? I think so. Anyway, so we were in this coffee shop. There's a point to this story. And her little one, inadvertently, she had a great big, you know, like Americans, they can't just have a normal cup of coffee. They have to have a pint, don't they? They're like that big. So she had this huge iced coffee, right? But it was like a bucket, you know, and the kid inadvertently knocked it either with a foot or I don't know, or she just swung it round. I don't know. Either way, this pint of coffee inside the coffee shop, not outside, fell off the table. Travels a long way. A pint of coffee, ice everywhere. Coffee like a right. So your first reaction when that happens, right, is you move away, don't you? Because it's going to go boof. You see it coming. So I moved away. I grabbed my two out the way, and splatter, coffee everywhere. My friend didn't move. She didn't. The coffee hit the deck. She looked at it. She was covered in it. The kid was, fortunately, it was iced coffee and not hot coffee. She was covered in coffee. Her feet were covered in coffee. The babe was covered in coffee. And everybody around was scrambling to get cloths and help mop up this pint of coffee. And it was like the lights were on, but there was no one at home. You know, it was a real, and it's given me a really healthy, that example, right, has given me a real healthy understanding of prescription drugs. It really has, you know, and I'm sure that many of you understand me and have been there. I remember the doctor put me on something once, some sort of pain modifier. I didn't know what my name was for a week. If you're not used to it as well, I think you do you get immune to it, or do you get numbed to it, or do you get like dumbed down to it? I don't know. And I'm sure that the medication has its place and is important. But I just remember my friend, who was a real switched on, zany, bohemian designer, you know? Yeah. And it triggered me because of the white picket fence. Because when I was drawing this, I can't help but think of my friend because of what it symbolizes. And the shocking thing is that even though it symbolizes that, you know, I didn't live in a house with a white picket fence. We lived in a rental, you know. We didn't have that kind of wealth that we could afford a house with a white picket fence. But I tell you what, we didn't have that chaos. You know, it was a happy home. So it just goes to show you, right, I'm going to put the second bar in now. You know that all that glitters is not gold? And I think often, you know, people get envious and they see big houses or they see white picket fence. Let's call them the white picket fence kind of, you know, and you think, oh, I wish I lived in a house like that. I wish I had a garden like that. I wish I had a white picket fence like that. And I tell you what, my 66 years of life tell me, yeah, you don't. You don't know what's behind that picket fence. You don't know what's lurking, you know. You don't know what's behind that wealthy facade. And if I think back in my life, money's never made me happy, and wealth has certainly never helped. Well, I say, retract. Wealth has never been, well, I've never been wealthy for a start, but because it's not my driver. But even say when I was absolutely brassic, which I have been many, many points in my life, okay, I have been absolutely broke. Money's never changed my happiness, not even a little bit. I mean, I know I've always sort of said I'd rather be rich and miserable than poor and miserable. I'll give you that. But the wealth has never been. It's the white picket fence. Be warned. You know, don't be fooled by the white picket fence. And I learnt that back then with my friend, and then in that coffee shop. Yeah, I know. And we lost touch. You know. I came back to England when my marriage broke up. I didn't even have a white picket fence and it fell apart. Ding dong. That's all right. Everything happens for a reason. It's all right. The power of hindsight, given the power of hindsight, I look back and I think it was the best thing that ever happened. But at the time, it was devastating. You can imagine, you know. But you just keep going, don't you? But I lost touch with my friend because she wasn't in the right mind to stay in touch, even if she even wanted to or cared to. And I was in survival mode. You know, I was in survival mode. So the last thing, and it wasn't that I would say, oh, the last thing I wanted to do was rescue a suffering friend. It wasn't that. I wasn't even in the country. I moved back to England, you see. And so we lost touch. I hope she's all right, though. I really, really hope she's okay, you know. Yeah, so there you go. And all that because we drew a white picket fence. Hey, I'm going to draw mine off the edge of the page. There, and then you really get a sense of continuum, don't you? Isn't that nice? There we go. I want to know what happened to your friend. Yeah, well, do you know what, Vanessa? I may, with the power of the internet, I may just be able to find her. I'm pretty sure that I have looked. I'll have another look. Hey, I'll have another look. She was great. She's a nice girl, you know. Yeah, I'll have another look. I'll keep you posted. I'll keep your white picket fence posted. Right, so now we've done the picket fence, right, so you know you're going to get some really good shading going in there. Then I think we need the weeds. But what about, so we've got the white picket fence. Do you fancy trying the wrens and the birds? And then we could do the house, the shack, on Thursday evening. Do you fancy that? Should we try the birds? Come on then. Let's have a look. We'll try the birds. I like that one. Come on. We'll leave the fence. We'll do the weeds and the shack on Thursday. Let's give the birds a go. A bit more challenging. Yeah. Right, I reckon since we're going for W, we'll try the wren. Yeah? Let's go for the wren. Cool. So we're going to make a smile and then we're going to cut. Let's give it a go. You're going to try this. It might work. Listen, there are no experts in the room. Do you remember when we started with the shack? What was one of the main things I used to say? There are no experts in the building. I am not a Wren artist. If Hilda Smith is in the building, she's the Wren artist. She's the artist now. Yeah. Me, I like Wrens. I love Wrens. Yeah. And that Merlin bird listening app that I spoke about the other day to you, I'm really pleased to see that several of you are taking advantage. It's so good, isn't it? I know Ken, Jill Wilding. Jill went to Germany and she said even on the Rhine, she had the app going and was listening to all the local birds in Germany too. I love it. I really love it. We have in our garden, we've got song thrushes, we've got blackbirds. The blackbird is really loud. The wren, the robin, but the blackbird's the main one. He's definitely the territorial one. And the robin. They seem to vie for position. And then every now and again you get a little wren going. And then all the blue tits, and then all the tits come in. The garden birds. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, it's an app that gives you, it's a sound identifier. So it's a bird song identifier. And it's called Merlin, easy to remember. Don't try the others, try Merlin. And not because I've got shares in it. I tried the others and the Merlin one's the best one. And it's great. You just hit record and it records the birds. This is the best bit though. It records the birds and it tells you this is a song thrush, this is a blackbird. So you can listen back to it, right? Or you're listening in the garden. This is the best bit. You listen in the garden and then you hear the bird and then it pops up. It's the blackbird and then the blue tit and then the song thrush, right? And you've got them. And then there's like a cacophony. They all start, don't they? But what's brilliant about the app is when the robin takes over, it gets highlighted. So now you're learning to identify. And after a while, you don't even need the app. You can sit in the garden and Dave and I were like, oh, there's the blackbird. Oh, there's the robin. There's the song thrush. You know because you've learned. It's an association game. But what's brilliant about the app is that it highlights the ones that are singing at the time. So, you know, for a few times you check. You've always got the same local birds. And then if you've got one that's unusual, you hear it. You're kind of attuned to the unusual. You'll know exactly what I mean. And then you go, oh my goodness, look what we've got in the garden. You know, I've got my brother on it. He's checking his garden too. It's very interesting. Yeah. Die Meisen und Amseln. Now, Meisen is the tits, and the Amseln, what is that in German? Amseln. I'll have to look it up. So it would be the tits and the Amsel. Is it a wren? I don't know. My German's getting worse. But I do know that the Meisen is the little blue tits. Yeah. The finches, Amseln. Right. So that's why I'm into birds. And then I've got, of course, the raku birds. And at the weekend, I oxided all the owls to get in the creases and they look really cool. So anyway, let's have a look. A wren. So let's go like this. And what we're going to do is just make a smile. Just trust the process. You're going to make a smile and you can go do loads of them. Go like that. Do another one. Do 3. Because it's always best if you've got 3 going, right? Like they're all kind of big, aren't they? Look, like that. You can make a little one. So you're going to try all different sizes. See? So now what we're going to do is we're going to come up and over. So you're going to go up for the head and then down. Up for the head and down. See a little curve. So you go up to the beak. So you go up for the head and then down. Up and down like that. Just trust it. Like so. See, so you've got that shape. We're going to go all the way down here. Let's try it again. And then we'll see. Then we can compare it. So we've got that one, right? And now here, we're going to put a little beak on. and we'll just go out like that. And you go up and then join it. And it's got a cheeky little beak like that. Up and up, and then join it. Don't worry if it's a bit dodgy. It's only a bit of paper. And the other thing is, there are loads of different wrens. Loads. There's so many different species of wren, you know? So if yours doesn't look like mine, well, it's just a different species. Okay? Oh, all right. I got another one for you, app. I pay for this one though. It's called Picture This. Brilliant. But I actually do pay for it. And it's the one app, I think it's like 20 quid a year, something like that. All right, and it's called Picture This. If you do your garden and you go for walks, it's amazing. And I'm sure I would have mentioned it before. But it's, you take a picture of a plant. It's plants and flowers. Brilliant. And it's got better, right? This app has evolved. So now if you've got you've got a plant in your garden or in your house even, it goes to house plants as well now. See, it didn't before. It was only trees. And if it's looking a bit ropey and it looks as if it's missing something, or it's not looking very well, right? If you take a picture of it, it scans it, and then it says, this plant is not well. This plant has got such and such. The remedy is, and then it tells you, give it milk, give it lemonade, give it this, give it that. And it tells you what to do to take it out the sunshine, put it in the shade, blah, 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 blah. It needs water. This is waterlogged. It's very good. It's called Picture This, right? So it's like a plant doctor app, right? Who wouldn't want that? If you're in the garden and suddenly, the aphids or whatever they're called, and it starts getting eaten alive, it will tell you, and it will tell you what to do. The best thing for me is it doesn't only tell you what's wrong. It's like, tell you what's wrong with this plant. It's also, let me give you a clue. It's brilliant, okay? But what's also amazing is that if you go for a walk, and I can take this anywhere in Germany or America, right? When I click it and I take a photograph of the tree, it identifies it for me. So it's a really big educator. So I'm not very good with trees. Dave is better with that stuff than me, being the farmer. Me being the city girl, I'm not that good. But I'm getting better. So you take a picture of the tree and it tells you, this is an elm, this is an oak, this is a willow. Well, I know the willow, but you understand what I mean. This is a beech tree. This is a such and such a beech. This is a birch. And it's really, really good. It's not just and it's for flowers as well. If you don't know your flowers, brilliant. See, it's worth 20 quid a year for me. Yeah. So if you're looking for a really good, it's a lovely present for somebody, I think, to sign them up to that app. If they kind of, they like the outdoors, they like the garden, but they struggle with the plants and that. And what's a weed and what's a flower? Yada, yada, yada. Picture This is a great app. I've had it for years. So there you go. Right. Now let's have a look. And we're on the wren. Okay. I. Now the I is it's really important, the I. And if you put a little line, and then it's got a big dot. The wren's got quite a big eye, like the robin, right? But the wren, whereas the robin is just a big circle like that, the wren's got a little tiny line over the top like that. So in large, if that's the wren's eye, right, then it's like that. It's got a line over it. Does that make sense? I can't show you any closer. Let me see if this camera's on. Let me see if that focuses. Yeah. See, the wren's got that line over the top, and it does change it. It makes it look a little less surprised. Right. The wren's a little bit more, a little sharper, a little more switched on. Right, so we put a little line like that over there, like that. Okay. We'll do another one. Little line and a dot underneath it. See, you can make a bird look really like an eagle eye, you know. If you bring this down further, then straight away, the further that comes down, the more the darker and the more. Here we go. Look, my granddad taught me how to draw eyes. My English granddad. There, you see. And then suddenly it's a human eye. But you understand what I'm getting at, right? The more you bring that down there, the darker the owl. See, when I did the owl, I brought the nose right down over the top of the eye. So the eye was, look, see how dark that is now. Can you see that? Looks really sinister. Yeah. So the robin is the absolute polar opposite of that. The robin's like hop along and got a clue that Eric's eyeing him up for lunch. Mind you, I have to say, it's a miracle that we've got any birds in our garden. We don't encourage them. We used to have feeders everywhere. But now with the cats, I said that would be cruel. It'd be like luring them in for lunch for the cats, you know. So we don't encourage the birds. We don't put feeders out. I do put bird baths out, and we don't feed them anymore just because of the two cats. We kind of took the decision that it was probably not fair. But we still got loads of birds in the garden, but they're up high. You don't see them, you know, they're like, they're not stupid. They're not stupid. We have a wren, an ex-wren in the, well, I say, that's nice. Welcome, Teresa. So we're drawing a wren. Now, let's have a look. So now we've got the eyes, right? And you know what the best thing about this is as well, right? Well, you don't want it to be too close to the beak, right? But the other thing is that while you're doing this, what I love about doing this is I'm not thinking about anything else. Now, tail is important. So we've done that bit, right? Nice. Now the tail. So to me, the tail, it kind of it takes this, just go up like that. Honestly, just bring that up like so. And maybe this time bring it over a little bit. Just do that. I know it seems a bit weird, but honestly, the tail, this one's a bit further over. If you bring it up, see how, let's bring this one over that way a bit more, right? And this one, see, so now that one there, I almost want to bring that tail over there a bit. There, see? So now coming like that, bring that over a bit, like so. Right. Just close that tail off. Now let's try a different one. These are a bit more chipper. These are like my raku ones now. Right, so let's just bring a little tail up there like that. They've got short tails. See, that's almost too long for that little body. It's just about getting the shape right. The shape, and then you've got that little tail there, right? I spent ages doing this yesterday. So there's a little tiny, because they're fluffy little balls, aren't they? Right, let's get that around there now a bit. Right, so we're going to bring that round like so. Right, let's have a look. And then the other thing is that they've got like a wing. If you go like, if I were to do that, right, it's like that bit there. So the wing goes to there. So now if I take this out there, you'll see, take that out there. There, see? So it's like it comes round like so. They're such a delightful little bird. And their nests, oh my goodness. Aren't they just incredible? These little tiny round balls. They really are quite something. So we just just get that little tiny, that'll do. not that bit there, around the bottom of the wing, like that. Now, the other thing, so now we've got the tail, right? And you can, I was going to say you can tit around. You can titivate and add a bit and take a bit away, right? But I reckon we're on it here. This is going to be great, right? We didn't get to the robin, but that's all right. Robin's Mark 2. Now, the angle of the legs is the next thing. See how if you look at it like that, so you go there, the leg is there, like that. It's almost like it's coming in off there. So it's coming down there and it's there. And they're tiny. See what? That's one of the things that I noticed. See if that's coming around like that. There's this leg there. Let's do it first. Let's do the first one. It's a cheeky little thing, isn't it? So then you're going to go like that. So like that. Just do that. So you've got the back and then the front. That'll do for now. Like that. Right. So it's almost like a little, but we keep it short. See, his legs are almost too long, accentuated. If you make them smaller, and then the back one is even, look, the back one's there. See? So it's coming in from the same place, but they're right at the back. Isn't that lovely? Yeah? See, if you took that there, let's just cover that up there like that. And if we put the legs there, like that, well, he don't look like that does not look like a wren anymore, right? If you bring the legs at the front, well, look, you can check, see? But as soon as they come in from the side like that, it's exactly the way they stand. And I found the same with the robin. But sometimes a robin's got really long legs. Have you noticed that? They're either fluffed up in the winter, or at the moment, we've got the baby ones out, and they're much thinner and longer. So maybe what I'll do is, on, he's lovely. Where's my wrens? I think we've done all right here, you know. Wrong legs. Yeah, so good wren. Good wren. And then you pick your favourite one. Pick your fave. They're good, aren't they? I love them. But the shape, it all begins with a smile. All begins with a smile, you see. Yesterday evening, I had a conversation, and many of you may remember this gentleman. His name was Bob Neal. And when we used to do the exhibitions, he was the pyrographer. He always had literally had a wooden baseball cap on, an elderly chap. And he used to do the workshops and the make and takes, like at the NEC and that. And he was always with his wife. He's from up north. Lovely old boy. And I knew him for 25, 30 years. Known him forever. And he reached out to me recently because he was looking for a couple of stamps that he'd lost and he needed them. He's still doing workshops. Anyway, last night I called him because we've discontinued those stamps. And I said, do they have to be those ones or can I send you something else? Because I've got loads of old stamps that would be brilliant for pyrographers. Turns out he's still doing workshops. He doesn't do the NEC and the big exhibitions like us anymore because none of us are getting any younger. So I said, no, we're not doing that either, Bob. You know, Dave's 70 this year and I'm 66. He said, yeah, I'm 85. Ding. Ding dong. So it just goes to show you, we are makers. We have to keep making. He and I talked about that, about the fact that creative people, you know, you have to keep making. You can't not make, you can't not draw. You have to be doing something with your hands. And he totally got where I was coming from. And then I told him that I was into pottery. And it was like I switched a light on in him because he was a potter too. And so we had the best conversation. It was so nice to catch up with him yesterday evening. And needless to say, I'm sending him a bunch of old stamps. And I said, when I send you these files full of old stamps that I don't use anymore, you know, he said, oh, that'll be marvellous for my workshops. I said, good. I'm glad they're going to a good home. So that was lovely. Now, what's happening this week? Right, tomorrow at 10 o'clock, you've got Louise in the SHAC, Groovy Tuesday. Tomorrow afternoon at 2 o'clock, of course, Paul and Louise will be keeping you company with something delightful. Don't forget this afternoon, we're doing a real mixed media, jelly plate, alcohol ink, kind of adventure. I think the mixed media artists among you will enjoy that one. Then on Wednesday, we've got part 2 of my 1, 2, 3 course, the live session in the afternoon. So if you've joined up, happy days, don't forget 1 o'clock. If you haven't, you still can. And so many people are, which is really lovely. Then Thursday evening, wrens and robins and shacks and picket fences. We'll crack on with this. And then on Friday at 10 o'clock, Paul's got a big surprise for you with Louise. So that'll be excellent. Yeah? Nice. 10 and 2. Anyway, I'm gonna get off now and get ready for tomorrow. Let me just check that I haven't forgotten anything. Nope. All good. Paul, have I forgotten anything? I don't think so. Amsel is a blackbird. Okay, there you go. Of course it is. I completely forgot. Amsel is a blackbird. Thank you. Now, yeah, all done, I think. Have a great day. Enjoy your week and make something. Just make something. Okay, I'll see you later on. Bye-bye now. And thanks, Paul.